All right, so like I mentioned, I just want to touch real quickly on multi-winding transformers. I think that this is an important topic to cover because basically up to this point, we've only been looking at two winding transformers, right? So if we go back to the beginning of this section on transformers, we were looking at two winding transformers, right? We're looking at this one has a primary and a secondary winding. This one on the right-hand side has a primary and a secondary winding. And it's important to note that we don't need to be limited by two windings, especially with a structure like this. Even this structure lends itself nicely to adding, we could add another winding on here and we can pull multiple outputs from the same transformer with different turns ratios to get different voltages, which is really awesome. And this is actually really common. So if I go back to the slide that we're on right now, let me see if I can grab this transformer and just bring it over there with us. I'll just take a little screenshot of it. Yeah, that works. Copy. I don't need that. And then let's go to the slide that we were just looking at, which is the multi-winding slide. And so if I were to look at this transformer right here, a multi-winding version of this would basically add another winding. Let me maybe write it in green. I could throw another winding wrapped around this transformer, right? Just like this. It can come just like that. And that could be my third winding here. And I could call this V3. Okay, so if I were looking at this structure now, I could call this V2, I could call this V3, and I could call the primary obviously would be V1. Okay, and so each winding would have some associated number of turns. So the first winding might have N1 turns, the second winding N2 turns, and the third winding N3 turns. And so it's the case that the same way V1 over N1 is equal to V2 over N2, we can also write V3 over N3. And so we can determine the ratio of V1 to V2, right? So we could say V2 over V1 is equal to N2 over N1. But we could also say V3 over V1 is equal to N3 over N1, and so on, right? We can derive all these relationships for this multi-winding transformer. And this is really useful, guys, because like I said, we can pull multiple outputs from the same transformer just by adding more coils to it. We could even add a fourth winding if we really wanted to up here. If we wanted to add another winding here with even more turns, we could get an even larger voltage there, just like that. And this is the idea behind multi-winding transformers. I don't know if I'm going to test you on this or ask you any questions, but the idea here would be that you kind of have some kind of a source. Let's just say it's a voltage source, Vs, and then you can connect multiple loads. You can connect a load to each of your multiple windings, and they're all electrically isolated from each other. But they're all going to have different currents flowing through them and different voltages across them, etc. And so this is a possibility. I just wanted to show that this is a possibility. So if you ever see something like this, you can note that all that's happening is we're basically winding more coils around the same core, and we can pull multiple output voltages from that same transformer. Okay, so this is just practical knowledge, and actually that's kind of the theme of the next few videos. I'm going to wrap up this section right here. And in the next few videos, just to finalize this module and to finish up magnetic coupling, we're going to look at some practical limitations and practical characteristics of transformers, some pictures of some real transformers, and sort of look at the scale of practical transformers from board mount transformers all the way up to the grid and distribution level transformers. Okay, so I'll end this video here. If you have any questions, obviously just feel free to ask, and we'll see you guys in the next video.